Patterson here with Boomerocity, and in this episode, I'm interviewing, well, let me stop right there and just say, first of all, if you've watched very much of Boomerocity, you know I love to get in behind the scenes on records and maybe talk to people who are not as widely known and get the nuts and bolts of an album or a particular project. And that's what this is about. I'm interviewing Rick Hirsch in this episode, and he was part of Wet Willie, and he worked with Billy Vera's band, and he worked with Greg Allman and Cher when they were together. So Rick's been around a while, and he's played some great music. He's a great guitarist, and we talk about his collection and his work with these people. But the primary reason why we got together is because he worked with greats like Chuck Leavell and Randall Bramlett in getting an album together of the late Tommy Talton. It was actually Tommy's album. He's all over it. But sadly, we lost Tommy back in 2023. And this was his last album that he recorded before his passing. And Rick and Chuck and the others got involved. And if you haven't heard it already, I encourage you to get it. It's absolutely amazing. Some great songs on there. Outstanding musicianship. I think you're really going to like it. If you like songs that might harken back a little bit to the Capricorn Records era of like the Allman Brothers and people like that, and these guys all had something to do with the Allman Brothers at one point in time, then you're really going to love this record. I encourage you to add it to your collection. Buy it. Don't download it. Don't just stream it. Please buy it. You can even get it in vinyl. That's what I have. So while you're listening to this interview, would you mind going ahead and hitting like, especially if you like it? And if you're not already a subscriber, just hit the subscribe button. I'm not going to bill you for anything. It just helps us out on our ends. It contributes to us getting paid, even though you're not sending any money to us. And also, please share it with your music-loving friends. So without any further ado, here is my first of what I'm pretty sure going to be many more interviews in the future with phenomenal guitarist Rick Hirsch. Until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerocity. Take care.
Hey, I didn't know you were going to record this.
It's so it could hold up in court later.
Yeah, right. Really. Yeah. Being in the litigious nation that we live in.
Good Lord, tell me about it.
I know, man.
Yeah, I like the telly in the background there. What's the story on that?
Yeah, that block of wood, I was playing at this little place in Pascagoula, Mississippi. And the owner is a guitar collector. He plays a lot, and he gets all these guitars, and he would have them hanging all around the stage, And so I broke a string on my guitar that night, and I saw that telly up there. I grabbed it and played it for the rest of my set. And at the end of the night, I asked Mark, his name's Mark Harrelson. Wait a minute. No, that's the wrong guy. Take that back. But anyway, Garrison, that's his last name. But I said, listen, I want to buy this guitar. And he said, okay, yeah, absolutely. And I picked it up. It's just one of the coolest sounding guitars I have. And I have a lot of guitars.
What, are you in competition with Joe Bonamassa or something?
Not at all. Not like that. In fact, I'd like to sell him one of my guitars,
well, he'd probably be a buyer,
I don't know. I am in the Burst Believer club, I guess you'd say. I have one of those. One of his favorite guitars is a 59 Sunburst Les Paul, which I have one. There are not many around, so if Joe comes up with the right digits, it's his.
Now, there's not going to be one of those things that if you were to sell it to him or anyone else, that after they're long gone, you won't sit there and say, crap, I shouldn't have sold that.
Oh, I'm already there. Okay. I've already done that. I hate to admit that, but yeah, I had just an amazing uh, uh, custom Les Paul. It's like about a 68, something like that. I was living, it's when I was living in Los Angeles, and I needed it for the rent of all things. And I
Oh
stupid.
man.
And the thing is I really didn't need it for the rent, of all. That's a terrible thing. But anyway, yeah, gone.
Oh man. Well, I'll
And
ask you this,
I
and then we'll get
regret.
on track.
Okay,
Go
I
ahead.
regret every guitar that I've ever sold. I regret having sold.
Well, then don't sell this one because you know
I'm
you're going to
not.
regret it.
I'm not going to sell that. Well, my 59, maybe. I don't know. It's like a 401k or something.
Oh, there you go. Well, yeah, there's that. There's cars I wish I hadn't have sold. But is there? I didn't have this down to ask you, but is there a holy grail of guitars that in your mind, and if so, do you own it?
I own several holy grails. I mean, it just depends on your taste for what guitars you appreciate. You know, Gibsons, of course, to me are probably the best guitars. Uh, although my go-to guitar on stage is a Fender Stratocaster,
Why
because of
is
its
that?
versatility.
Oh yeah,
Versatility.
there you go. Yeah, yeah, that's what
It
I'm
plugs
told.
in anywhere, anywhere.
Yeah,
So,
very cool.
but yeah, I have a
Very cool.
bunch of guitars. A function of age. That's the only reason I have those guitars. But they're valuable. I, I have a pretty massive little collection, but
So,
so
so Norm it over at Norm's Rare Guitars or whatever that's called there. That he would be envious maybe of what you have.
he actually, I lived in Los Angeles for like, I don't know, 35 years. And I played with a group called Billy and the Beaters.
That's
And
Billy
with
Vera's band, isn't it?
Billy Vera, right.
Yeah.
And Norm would come to a lot of our shows. And
Really?
he coveted my 59 Les Paul Sunburst, and he had hit on it a few times. He said, "Yeah, man, you ought to sell that to me. It's probably worth $10,000. Come on, like that, And at the time, that was back in the '80s, and that guitar was starting to creep up in value, But I held on to that one, I still have it, and I've had a few people approach me about it.
Hmm.
But I mean, so yes, Norm, right? I knew him. I'm acquainted with Norm. So
Yeah. Where are you clicking in from now? You're not in L.A. anymore. Where are you at now?
I'm in Mobile, Alabama. I'm
Ah,
in my
okay.
home, my house in Mobile, Alabama. I moved in here in 2004,
I
and
see.
I kind of lived halfway. 2 months here, 2 months LA for I don't know the last 20 odd years, and finally leased out my property in Los Angeles at the end of 21.
Ah, I see.
So
I lived in Huntsville twice, and
okay,
before my dad's career took us to Phoenix, and so that Phoenix was home for until my early 20s, and then I wound up in Dallas, and now I'm in the Smoky Mountains. So
wow, that's a good place to be.
yeah,
Where,
yeah. I Pardon me.
which city or town?
Sevierville. I'm about 2 miles
Oh
up the
yeah.
road from Dollywood.
Okay. Yeah, I know
So,
Pigeon Forge, all that stuff up there.
oh yeah.
My brother had a cabin up there that we used to go to a bunch, and beautiful,
Well, I've lived here for the last 12 years. I was my dad's caregiver, and he passed away almost 2 weeks ago, about a week and a half ago. And
Oh,
so I'll be
ouch.
settling the estate, and I wish I could buy the place, but it's more than I can afford right now. So, it's my 59 Gibson Les Paul, So
Ah, I understood. You have siblings?
yes, my sister and I were co-executors. So,
Okay, right. I won't get into
oh,
the
we get along great. We get along
oh,
great.
good,
It's
good, good.
So far so good. I can't complain, and we there's no problems there, and we'll probably have to take our time liquidating and all that because she and her husband may buy it, but a nasty divorce and some ill-timed events prevent me from making this
Oh,
purchase as much as I'd like to, unless I win the lottery and then all bets are off. So,
I understand. That sounds like a beautiful place up there, though. I
oh,
know
it
what the city
is.
is like.
Yeah,
It's really
it's
nice.
absolutely stunning here. Traffic gets bad every once in a while. We had the what do they call those things? The slammed enough gathering with the little small cars that are obnoxiously loud and their wheels are, they let me see if I can do it right on the camera where they kind of fan out a little bit. And man, they were just not, I can't say all of them were, but there were enough of them that were troublemakers that they're prevented from coming here anymore, at least officially and as an organized group.
Wow.
So, but
Okay.
but twice a year we have the rod runs where you see all the classic cars. Traffic goes into gridlock, but hey, it's fun to look at all the beauties here from when we were kids, 60s, 70s, that kind of
Sure.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Kind of
but
like cruising the coast in Biloxi.
yep.
Have you ever heard of that?
No,
You know,
I mean I've been to Biloxi, but I haven't heard of that.
oh man, it's insane. Like for a week. I mean, I refuse to go because you just cannot. I mean, to navigate all that traffic, but it is pretty cool when I have gone. They've
Yeah.
got
Well,
every car you ever thought of in your life.
exactly.
You know,
Exactly. Well, here, a 20-minute drive turns into over 3 hours. So and that thanks to
yeah,
GPS,
right.
the people start learning where the back roads are. So now locals don't even have that anymore. But, it's 3 or 4 days and then it's done. Small price to pay.
Yeah,
But,
right. It's a hobby.
yeah. Well, man, I'm glad we got to meet up here. When the opportunity arose, I thought, man, this is going to be fun because, gosh, Tommy Talton. I mean, geez, and all
Yeah.
the great music you guys have, excuse me, worked on together, and your work with Wet Willie, of course, and before we get into that, what has been keeping you busy musically lately?
Wow.
Besides getting this thing ready to put out there and everybody
Yeah, yeah,
enjoy.
yeah, yeah. Which is, by the way, which has been you hear the expression labor, the cliche labor of love, which this definitely was. I mean, I had some great opportunity to, converse and get really deep with Tommy on this album, because I ended up, for whatever reason, basically co-producing it with him. And yeah, we had lots of laughs and lots of fun. Um, we'll get into that. But anyway, what was the question again?
When are you shipping
Oh
that
yeah,
59 Les Paul to me? No,
yeah,
no.
right, right. No, you were asking me what have I been doing uh, most recently. Yeah, I
Yeah.
work with, I've got a little studio here, Studio H2O, which is
Hmm.
where Tommy and I completed 7 levels.
Hmm.
So when I moved back in 2004, or came here in 2004, I bought this place, which is on a river. You can't see the river, but there's a river back there. And it's really just kind of a writer's paradise and retreat. And I really and truly, I designed this little studio as a writer's project studio. And um, people would come in here and do the work and record it. And it really was just intended to do that, for people to come in and kind of suss out their songs and material. And some of them ended up putting out their music. from this studio. So the word of mouth kind of got around, and it just turned into a recording studio, full on recording studio. And it's a cool place to do it because really, if a writer comes here, that person is able to really separate from all the minutia going on in their world. I mean, it accommodates, it's like 5 bedrooms. Everybody has a place to stay and sleep and privacy. And it's a good brain rinse. It's a good place to go to sleep, a good place to wake up. So people can really kind of focus on their projects. And people have come here from really like a lot of different places, like Australia, Belgium, France, Germany. Yeah. And of course, a lot of local regional people have been in here doing work.
Kind of like how
Caribou Ranch
used to be. Is it kind of like how?
Well, shoot, I wish it was like Caribou Ranch. Elton showed up yet, but it's been really nice. It's been really great. I've enjoyed it. I kind of ended up in this production capacity. I'd had learned a few skills in that area in Los Angeles because I had a studio out there too, but really have gotten into it here. Really have gotten and evolved my skill set. Hopefully, anyway. So that's what I've been doing.
Well, obviously, many of my viewers because I focus on the baby boomer demographic, and basically the music we either grew up listening to, or I focus on new artists, like a Joe Bonamassa. I mean, he's not new, but he's newer. And, anything I think baby boomers would be interested in, that's what I go for.
Gotcha.
Obviously, a lot of the viewers that I have will know you from your incredible work with Wet Willie and, other Southern rock acts. For those that might be just catching up on it, describe your own musical journey and that has led you to this point. Maybe name drop a little bit,
Right. Oh, I know. I have to, let me look. I did pull out a sheet in case I got asked that dastardly question because, it's like, I'm one of those people. It's just, I don't necessarily love talking about, me necessarily, but, yeah, Wet Willie was, I guess what you would say, I call it my childhood band, because that was like in 1968, 69.
Mm-hmm.
You said the word baby boomer. Of course, that's way before my time. The baby.
Yeah, mine too, but yeah, I think it.
Right. We'll act like we're baby boomers.
That's
but anyway,
right. We'll be Gen Xers in real life, though, right? So
yeah. Oh, I'm a millennial, dude. But anyway. No, at the end of Wet Willie, I guess from that band started in like 69, and I left in 76 to move to Los Angeles and work with Greg Allman had called me to do an album with he and Cher. They were doing their duet record. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to try to make this as succinct as possible. So anyway, went out there, did that album, and was asked to stick around and play and record and be part of their whole touring entourage. So I did that for a couple of years until that blew up, and they were divorced. And I worked with Greg for a bit after that, but then after working with them, I think I went with Bonnie Bramlett for a while. I don't know if you know Bonnie Bramlett or not. She's
I interviewed her a bunch of years ago. In fact, when she did her little foray into Christian music in the early '80s, I was doing a little bit of dabbling in Christian concerts. I had her and Joe English together at
oh
uh,
wow,
at my church
Joe.
that does going to in Phoenix. Yeah, I mean, what a
Okay.
I hear he's. I interviewed Frank Hanna a couple months ago from Tesla, and his father-in-law was Dickie Betts. So small world there. But his I think he's kind of his other father-in-law through because of the divorce and all that was Joe English, and he said Joe's retired from the ministry now because he got out of music not long after I
Yeah.
promoted that show in Phoenix, and he was at this church. Then he retired from there, and I think I think he works at an auto parts store or something in one of the Carolinas.
hmm Yeah, yeah. Just
So
decided to give it up.
yeah,
Give it
yeah.
yeah. I get it. There's a lot of thought went into that because he was an amazing drummer. He used to play with a group called Jam Factory. I think was no Tall
Sea
Dogs.
level. Yeah.
No, well, this is prior to that.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, they were from Syracuse or Binghamton, New York,
Yeah.
and it was a great band. Really funk. Like first time I saw them, I was like, "Are you kidding me? What are those guys doing?" It's really remarkably cool band. But anyway, so yeah, Bonnie Bramlett was kind of the next thing. Then I worked with Joan Armatrading for a couple of years, which was, in my view, in my experience, which was probably the most interesting musical experience in terms of live bands that I played with. And then after her, I hooked up with Billy Beer and the Beaters, which kept enabling me to stay in Los Angeles for a long time and not have to go on the road. And because every time you would uh, get a little settled in LA and somebody gave you got into a road gig, you would leave town for like 6 months or something and then come back and you'd kind of lost all your connections,
Got to start all over again. Yeah.
It's kind of like that, your networking was just, so that enabled me to stay in Los Angeles. And that was a really great just education. You talk about going to school, and I'm not talking about the school of hard knocks. It was nothing like that. I mean, it was really just a, a great way to evolve musically. Uh, I if you a lot of great players live in Los Angeles, as you know, and at that time anyway. And some of my champions lived out there, like Phil Upchurch or Ted Green and those kind of folks that I knew about, and always had wanted to meet them, or better yet, get some lessons from them. And you could do that out there. It was remarkable. You can just call them up and say, "Hey, listen, I'd really love to work with you and get some, do some monkey do, monkey see, monkey do kind of, and they were all about it. I said, "Oh yeah, man, come on," and I'd hook up with those guys. And so that was great. Got to improve my engineering skills with my studio, and that I got a lot of work doing that stuff. A lot of it I have to attribute to Billy and the Beaters because that band was getting around. We had a hit with a song called "At This Moment,"
Yep.
which was kind of, you know, um, it was good in one sense because obviously gave you a lot of exposure. But in another sense, it kind of defeated the purpose of wanting to stay in LA and not kind of go on a tour. And we didn't do a whole lot of that, but we did some. Anyway, that's kind of where I've been. I mean, I got to do a lot of work. We Billy and the Beaters was a lot happened with that band, and I was part of it. I mean, we were in a bunch of movies, worked with a ton of different people. Yeah, things were clicking with that group.
I think
It
a lot of
was,
people don't realize too what a great musicologist or music historian Billy is. I interviewed him a few years ago when a box set was coming out on Little Richard, I think it was,
uh-huh.
something like
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
and he kind of curated it together. And this is even before Little Richard died, and I forget who was handling the publicity on it, but they said, "Hey, you want to talk to Billy?" I said, "Yeah." And man, what an education just in that little bit I
Oh
got to
yeah.
talk with him,
Oh yeah. Yeah, man. It's like I'd ask him, man, we'd do a gig somewhere, we just play these joints in Los Angeles.
Hmm.
And it was fun. He would, Billy's history, a little bit of his history, he was in New York. He played with a lot of those R&B reviews back in the days with the Shirelles and the Ronettes and those kind of bands, And so he knew all that stuff. And plus, he's a really underrated guitar player. Okay.
Oh, I
It's
didn't know
like,
that.
he's not like a soloist or anything, he's not like this massively great. But I think he's probably one of the best rhythm guitar players that I've ever met. Just
Hmm.
amazing. And he plays a telly, but yeah, he knew all those songs like "Baby, It's You" and he knew all the exact riffs. He was, like you say, he's a very knowledgeable guy.
Hmm.
Really learned a lot from him and with him. So
Well,
it
that
was good.
song, he shared the story with me how that song was
Oh yeah,
like how accidental it was, and they had to hurry up, and I don't even think there was a pressing of it when they played it on that Michael J. Fox show, and they had to hurry up and get it out there, and it kind of took
we,
off almost without him.
we cut it for the Michael J. Fox show. Actually, that version. We went
Hmm.
into Cherokee Studios, which was kind of an iconic studio in Los Angeles, and we cut at this moment specifically for what was the name of that show?
Family Ties, was it?
Family Ties, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And yeah, it was crazy. It was just, I mean, that song basically, the story I got anyway was that people were CBS, I guess, was who had it on. Was that was one of their shows, and people started calling in about that song and what song was that and can they get it and so forth. Man, Billy knew how to seize the moment. Don't forget, he had cut that tune on, I think, in a studio setting before that live album came out.
Hmm.
And if I might not be getting that right, actually, I think that live album was the first time it had been tracked or cut and released. But anyway, long story short, or yeah, he seized the moment, got Rhino Records on it, got the rights from whatever label it had been on originally, and I think it went to number one and Billboard for 2 straight weeks, which was pretty
Wow.
strong. back
Yeah.
then. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know what blew it out of the saddle, but pretty good run.
Hey, not too many people can say that, and for fans, they probably don't appreciate that accomplishment so much. They'll know the song when they hear it, but for me, I love hearing the nuts and bolts behind the scenes stuff on that
Uh-huh.
because to me, it's as entertaining as the songs themselves.
Oh yeah, I hear you. I understand. Yeah, I feel the same way. I get into it too. And sometimes I'll look back at the things I've done and those kind of incidents. I don't dwell on all that stuff all the time, of course. But when I look back, that's pretty cool,
Yep.
that kind of thing.
I'll drive by myself in the car. I'll be flipping through stations on Sirius XM and play a little game to myself. And it's like, how can, I'll go through it. And I have little time limits and such, but it's like, can I go through all my presets without hitting at least three people I've interviewed? And
Wow.
because I've been doing it for 17 years now, almost 17 years. I'm in my 17th year and over 600 interviews. But it's like,
Good
oh
Lord.
yeah, I talked to that guy or the session guy on that one, or on and on and on, and it's
Uh-huh.
it's fun. And I mean, to me, it's just cool to know that the people I listened to growing up, I got to talk to, and I got to point to those people, and it's almost like an autograph. Say, hey, check out my autograph in the form of an interview here. And again, it's all about the artists, the people that impress me, that I'm all about. That's why you see your album cover here, or the Tommy Talton album cover, and not my office background, because to me it's all about you guys. So
I do see that picture
but
and yeah, it's a sentimental thing. It's a bittersweet uh, cover right there, because
well, let's talk about the album. What start with the cover? What's the story behind it, and then we'll get into the
you
record
know,
itself.
I honestly, I cannot really answer that question. I don't know. Stolen Bones came up with that cover. I'm not sure how it developed. I have to assume uh, Tommy, in his decline, you know, I'm pretty sure that just knowing him as a person, he was pretty clear-minded about what he wanted whenever on any issue. Uh, and I know that's I can see him. That's a very sincere looking pose and photograph, and I think that's probably the message he wanted to deliver. You can see it right there in his face and his posture. So
I'd almost wager there's even a story behind the guitar he's posed with there.
I can't really see it. He had a few guitars. Is that the 335?
I
I
can't.
can't.
I think so, but I wouldn't swear to it.
Yeah, he loved that guitar. He really did. He had a custom guitar too that somebody had fabbed for him, and that had these little. Are you a guitarist?
I just know a lot of, or a bit about him. I wouldn't even say a
Okay.
lot, but I study because I know you guys are, right? So
Well, the reason I ask is, there's this company named Dan Electro, and
yeah,
they make these lipstick pickups, and he had this custom Strat made, and this wild looking guitar. Anyway, I'm surprised they didn't use that on there because he loved that axe. But if it's at 335, yeah, that was definitely one of his prized axes for sure.
how'd you come to know Tommy? What's the story behind your friendship there?
It was like a convergence of people. The Allman Brothers, of course, had begun their ascent in around 1969. They really started getting into, and they found their collective voice, I guess you would say.
Mm-hmm.
And I had heard the very first album, their debut album called the Allman Brothers album, and that's that classic picture of them on the front with the in front of some kind of maybe it's a church or some type of building like that with Barry, and just an interesting photograph. And I had heard that record and just like, wow, I was like, America's finally come up with their version of our version of Cream or something, where these heavy guitar bands,
Mm-hmm.
which of course I was a huge fan. And they were really doing it in a very unique way, a very unique way. It was just like, wow, where did they get that from? When I heard the song Not My Cross to Bear the first time, and those descending harmony parts in this straight up blues song, it's like, yeah, okay, that was just the bomb. And they played. I was living here in Mobile at the time, and they did a gig at the Warehouse, which was an old place in New Orleans, a pretty famous place. You probably heard of it.
Yep.
On Chapatula Street. And anyway, so I went down and I don't remember. Yeah, I was playing with the guys in Wet Willie by then, I think. And we went down and sat down and heard them live, at the Warehouse, a very funky venue, big, massive venue with a great sound. And that was it. That was like, wow, they're just great. Anyway, so they were basically in Macon, Georgia at that time. Phil Walden had put all that together with Dwayne and figured out all those details. And meanwhile, I had a friend that I went to school with at Alabama. And he had seen us. We were called Fox back then, and we had played in Birmingham or somewhere. And he had seen us play, and he was also a musician, a guitarist, and he had already been to Macon trying to pitch his band. And that is a long and convoluted story, but I'll just say that he called me up and said, "Hey, man, you should come to Macon with your band, and we will do some, I'll get you an audition, only if I can be in the band." So I said, "Okay, great, cool, man, let's do it." So, because we knew that's where the Allman Brothers were. I mean, this is like going to Mecca or something. It's just crazy. But so we all put all our junk in this white slasher van and drove up to Macon and auditioned in this old funky warehouse and got to slay. Anyway, Cowboy had already been there. I've forgotten who brought them into the fold, but it was around 1970 when I actually met Tommy Talton. And I'm pretty sure they had already finished their first album, self-titled Cowboy album. And that impressed me as well. at least as much as the Allman Brothers album. It was just another kind of side of what was happening in Macon, Georgia at the time. That's where I met Tommy and Scott Boyer, you know,
Ah,
and was just blown away by that album. It was like, wow, you know, that's when I was a little boy, that's what I wanted to grow up to be, you know, it's like whatever was on that record, you know. So, you know, so that's how we met. And I remember him as immediately I was impressed with his strength of, and this strength and aura that he had of delivering, you know, playing, whether it was a guitar part, whether it was a song that he'd written, you know, and he was just going to play it for you. You know, there's an old expression that musicians have, you know, when you're trying to, that you have to keep in your mind when you're playing. It's like, play it like you mean it, you know, say it like you mean it, you know, sing it like you mean it. And that's a very big part of who Tommy was without even thinking about it. He didn't just dwell on that, but I know that that was a big thing about him that I read, you know, I read that into him. So that's where it started.
wow.
And
So you knew him for 53 years then by the time he passed away.
it hadn't been that long ago. What are you talking about?
Oh, I
50?
forgot. You're only 40 something, right? So
I was 5 when I met Tommy.
five.
That wouldn't really work out, Willie. But anyway.
Man, that's something. Play it like you mean it, say it like you mean it. You know, that's the one thing that amazes me about artists who can take a song that they may have written, you know, some time ago and then still deliver it as if they just wrote it, you know, just before they got on stage or, you know, wherever they're performing it at. And to me, that's part of the art of being a musician, especially a performing one, to be able to do that for the fans' sakes, because you know the last thing a fan wants to see from their seats is an artist mailing it in, right? And
Yeah, yeah, they don't
we've
want
all
to die
sat through
in the
shows like
brush.
that.
What's that? Say
I
it
said
again.
we all sat through shows where the
Oh
artists, you
yeah,
know, you pay good money to see them and they're not really happy to be there, even though they say, you know, good to be here in Knoxville, you know, and they're already looking at their watch. You know?
yeah. Look, yeah, and the older you get, the more you appreciate that too. You know, of being able to get on a stage and play it like you mean. It's funny you mention that because I saw Ray Charles several times in the course of my life, and he's one of my favorite artists ever. Ray Charles is just amazing, you know, as you probably would agree. But I remember seeing him initially back in the, I don't know, it was in the 60s at some point, and when he had that What I Say band that he was touring with. Okay, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you know, just unreal, just unbelievable music. And you know, David Fathead Newman and Hank Crawford and all these just iconic cats were playing with him. And then jump forward, and I saw him several times in between, but the last time I saw him, I think was, I don't know, somewhere in Orange County at some outdoor venue. And he was a caricature of himself at that point, you
Mm.
know. And it's like, well, that's not really the nicest thing to say about somebody, but you know, he was clock watching. I guess he was getting kind of up there too. He's getting kind of fried, you know, and
Well,
getting
Elvis
tired.
did the same thing. I mean, let's face it. I
Yeah,
love I grew up on Elvis. His was the first concert I ever went to. But the
Oh,
video I saw
okay.
of those later years, man, he just, or you can even hear it in the recordings. I mean, he was doing it at hyper speed as like he was trying to get in and out of there. And, at least that's how it come across to me. And I hate
No, I
saying that because I
understand.
was such a big fan.
Well, you see these little snippets, that videos from the past. I mean, it's like the bane of people's existence, when they're because they see these snippets of him backstage before he went on stage, trying to hype himself up and make himself get into it. But yeah, that was those Vegas days were there were some good ones though. I mean, that one classic one that Steve Bender produced, where he was basically in the round with Scotty
Yeah.
Moore, or was it
The
James?
comeback special. Yeah.
Yeah, with the black leather and man,
Yep.
everything you wanted Elvis to be, he was at that moment. You know what I
Yep.
mean? It was like,
Yep.
that's the Elvis I in my head, So
Yeah. Up
although
until say about 75, and then things started going south on him.
yeah, yeah, I saw him when I was a little boy at the Greater Gulf State Fair here in Mobile.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy, right? I mean,
Hold it, wait. You're not old enough for that to have happened. You've
oh
been
yeah,
lying to me already, Rick. Come on.
well that's true. I was born before this. Anyway, but yeah, I
You
remember
remember
that.
much about that show?
I I remember I got the images in my head, So
Hmm. Same here.
with yeah, there you go.
Yep. It's mine was in 73. Easter Sunday in 1973 in Phoenix, Arizona is when I got to see him.
Oh, okay. All
Right
right.
after a couple months after the satellite special. But
Uh-huh. The satellite
but
special.
phenomenal. Yeah, the Aloha from Hawaii where they did it, broadcast it by satellite to all over the world, and
Oh,
he had
okay.
that big double album that came out from that.
I got you.
Yeah,
All right.
so he was still skinny when I saw him, but
Ah, right.
but so Tommy passed away in 2023.
Mhm.
So, and still his imprint on music is still alive and well. What did it mean to you? Well, first of all, I'm getting ahead of myself. How did the Seven Levels project come about, and how were you brought into it to help make it happen?
Well, Tommy had, we all kind of grew up in, when I say grew up, I mean in our adulthood, a great part of that was to do with Capricorn Records in
Right.
Macon, Georgia. So we all knew each other. And Tommy had worked with everybody in that band to one degree or another. Chuck and Randall and Bill and Charlie Hayward um, and myself. And so, and we had all played in that studio, Capricorn Records, before. We had all done albums there back in the 70s. So, and it stayed in touch. I did some work with him between then and then, of course. And I think I did an album. I played on an album that he did that Johnny Sandlin, I think it was the last album Johnny had produced on them as Cowboy called. They did an album called Five Will Get You 10, but then this album was called 10 Will Get You 20. And that was in Decatur, Alabama, at Johnny's studio, Duct Tape. And anyway, they had called me to come up and play on a tune that I wrote that they did on that album called Let It Rain. And, a little incidental. And before that, he had been down here, been to this studio. I think we'd gotten off and played some jam downstairs, and he turned it into a song, and it was on, what was the album? Let's Get Out of Here, maybe, or one of those. I can't remember. There were two or three that were back to back. Anyway, so the point is that we'd seen a fair amount of each other in the years from between now and way back then in the 70s. And so he called me up and said, "Hey, I'd like for you to play on this project I'm going to do at Capricorn." He named the rest of the musicians. And I said, "Hell yeah, absolutely." I wasn't going to miss out on that. So that's how it happened. That's pretty much what it was, And again, the collective of those musicians, Bill Stewart, Charlie Hayward, Chuck Level, Randall Bramlett, and myself, and of course Tommy, there we were in this big old studio. I mean, it's a pretty big place, relatively speaking, and it's a good studio. But there we were, and he had a handful of tunes that he had written, and we just had at it.
Did you guys know that he was ill and
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I was completely aware of all of that. And of course, you hear the expression frequently that when someone is dealing with that, some horrific disease, that they don't let it define them, and I get that completely, man. It's like, yeah. And here he was back, probably killing him. Studio work's not all, it's not that easy. Of course, when you're playing music, you tend to get lost in the moment of the music, and it's almost like a big relief from whatever else is hurting, So that's pretty much where he was at, I think. He just wanted to play, and you can hear that one song that ends the album, "Say a Prayer on My Behalf." And I think that song, honestly, I think that really just was him blowing out that frustration of looking at what he was faced with, this conclusion, and I really heard that in his performance. To me, it's a really just visceral moment that we had. It's dark. He played the blues. I mean, like, I never heard Tommy Talton play the blues before then. Okay, and that's weird because all the years we've known each other. But he played the frickin' blues on that tune. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really killed it. And he sang it great too. So it's a really good moment.
Was there a particular song or moment during the making of this album where that you feel really captured Tommy's essence, or maybe even reminded you why his music connected with so many people?
Well, as I said, I was a big fan of Cowboy, and there were, Tommy and Scott both contributed songs to that project, Cowboy, that were, that were always interesting to me. And in particular, I can name some of Tommy's songs from back then. Maybe Josephine Beyond Compare was one, and I was like, wow, this guy wrote this magnificent piece of music and lyric, and I was blown away back then. And now he's written a bunch of stuff and has done a ton of work since then, that he's put out, as you probably know. And on this album, I hear him. He always evolved. Okay, I mean, we had written a tune on one of the albums called what's the name of it? You Can't Argue with Love. And so that was sort of one phase or something. It was kind of a rock and roll song, a la Tom Petty-esque, if you can say that. And then on this album, of course, he was always evolving. That's my point. And so on this album, I think it reflects that furtherance of his craft. There's some different music on this record that you hadn't heard from Tommy Talton. Like Sun in My Heart you've heard that one, I mean, that's a great tune. I love that tune. It's funky, it's raw, but at the same time, it's, it's pretty sophisticated little piece of music. But nobody's ever heard him do that before, I don't think. So it's refreshing, to me. There are a couple of things. My favorite song on that album is I Want to Do It All Again, which of course speaks to his dilemma, at the time. I say dilemma. It might not have been a dilemma. I mean, for me, it's like a dilemma, But, he obviously in that tune was just saying what people think, but in the most poetic ways imaginable. When I hear the line, the line that really got me was he ended a verse with becoming every soul I ever met. And that's what we all do through life. To me, it's like we become every soul we encounter, every person, a little piece of it,
Yeah.
Hopefully the better pieces, but then the other line in that tune is, I am a blind man at a window painting an imaginary view, which of course is him saying, I don't know what's going to happen, just like none of us know what's going to happen when it happens. And so I'm blind to what's in front of me, and I'm painting this imaginary, my brain is telling me this, that, and the other. So I knew, and of course, I Want to Do It All Again, of course, speaks to, it's kind of self-explanatory.
Mm-hmm.
And
was there?
That's my favorite too. You asked me my favorite.
Was there? Did Tommy say anything about what he hoped people would get from the album when he was putting this together, or was it just assumed?
He didn't really. I don't remember a conversation like that. that he and I had. He may have had it with Joe Bell, who is also, I should mention Joe Bell's, he's deeply involved with that album. Uh, but I'm not sure, I just think he wanted it to be the best album that he could possibly make under those circumstances. I think that's what it amounted to. And I think we did,
Yeah.
I think he was happy with it. By the way, I have to mention Jeremy Stevens played a huge part in this album too. Jeremy was, I don't know if you know his history, Johnny Sandlin's apprentice assistant engineer at Johnny Sandlin's studio for years, and he played a big part on this record. And he kind of co-engineered the actual tracking of the album. And he and I bounced things around after it, post-production, just want to, for the record,
I've
He
heard
was
the name,
important.
but I wasn't that familiar with him.
He's important to the project, very
Mhm.
important.
Did the album hit you kind of, I mean, because you're so closely involved with it? I know for me, whenever I'm doing something, I'll even, if I'm pulling out an old interview that I've done several years ago and then I bring it back, especially if someone had passed away and I'm dusting it off and putting it out on YouTube, I'll hear it and I'll go, wow, I forgot about that, or I didn't realize this is how this came across then. Was there anything about this album, you do it, it gets in the can, it goes through the process of getting ready for release and all that, you've gone on to other things, and then you hear it when it's, when the shrink wrap is done, and you go, wow, did it just hit you completely different than it did while you were working on it, I guess, is what I'm
You,
trying to
you
say.
know, I was so, the expression, you can't see the forest for the trees, and that's how it is for me, man. I was so deeply involved with the mixing and the mastering and just all the post production overdubbing that I listened to it from a very technical standpoint. Really hoping that the emotion and the message of the song is intact and the integrity of the emotional aspects of the song are kept intact. But really, I'm listening more for, I know when the test pressing came out of the LP, the actual vinyl, the copy I got was like, I don't know, it was warped or said it had been out in the sun. But anyway, I did get it to play, and I noticed that there was some little consistent, what I call a snat on it, which is just a kind of little sound that was, like I say, it was consistent on this one particular track. Those are the things that I listen for. Okay. I mean, if I'm reviewing a test pressing or whatever else it is, how the master is. The master is each mastered song consistent with the one that's going to follow it? Do all the songs sound like they belong on the same album? Are they all threaded together properly? Are they sequenced? All this kind of crap, man. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
you drive yourself crazy. And believe me, Tommy and I drove each other crazy on a lot of that shit. Okay. Believe me, I promise you. Yeah, man. It was, I mean, Tommy, and if he could hear me, he would totally agree. I say this expression, I say, Tommy, Tommy was a brat. Okay. And it takes one to know one. All right. And when two brats get together, you're going to see some sparks fly, but the end result is you get a better end result because of that. It's
Yeah.
the compromises and the focus on the little minutia that you would never think of, or anybody else, but the people who are that close to the project.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, what do you have coming up that you'd like to tell people about? Any shows you're doing? Any other new projects coming out on the heels of
yeah,
this?
I am producing I work with a group called Molly Thomas and the Rarebirds, which is a quartet. It's kind of a folk rock thing, but Molly Thomas is a force to be reckoned with. She's strong, super strong. She has just released an album that actually was produced by and co-written with one of her songwriting partners named Ken Rose. It's a great record. We're kind of following up on that now. I am producing a guy from here named Ryan Balthrop, who is, yet again, I use the word force, but he is an amazing writer and singer. And it's kind of like, I don't necessarily want to use this analogy, but it's like being in on the session of Blood on the Tracks or something. It's that kind of vibe.
Kind of a Dylan thing, huh?
Well, yeah, but Dylan at that place, Blood on the Tracks,
Right.
was just this one particular era of Bob Dylan.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And a few other things. I'm getting ready to put it all aside and jump back into my own music. I write a lot of instrumental stuff. And so I've got about 20 songs I haven't recorded, and I'm getting ready to do those.
Fun.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to say, no, I'm shutting the door. Nobody's going to be here but, me and a drummer and a keyboard player, and I'll lay it down.
Well,
So,
man, when this stuff starts getting close to being dropped, clue me in on it so we can set one of these up and we'll talk about it, and I'll do my part to help get the word out because I'd love
I
to do
appreciate
that.
that.
Because by
Cool.
golly, you're the funnest millennial I've ever interviewed. So
Oh, well. Yeah, we'll go with that. Likewise.
Oh, you say that to all the boys.
Yeah, right. It's been great, man. I've enjoyed it.
I did too, man.
Always enjoy, like I said, reflecting on Tommy and going back. And I thought about this, before we started talking, and just when I look through our text thread, I mean, you have certain people, in the world and the current place we're in, text threads they're like volumes, with especially on an individual person, your text thread with that person is like, it's an interesting thing. And if you review them, sometimes, which I did with Tommy a lot, because we texted constantly, 3:30 in the morning. You got to text. And, we're both night owls.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about one song or another. And anyway, just those kind of things. And I enjoyed doing that, so
Yeah.
appreciate it.
you could tell the warmth of the album. Um, I think a person listening to it and not knowing the backstory, not even knowing that he had passed or anything like
Hmm.
that, I think they would pick up on something special there. Maybe not be able to articulate it or define it, but there's just it's sometimes maybe even bittersweetness to it, and you're kind of
Yeah.
wondering why is it sounding that way, and so yeah, I mean it's a great album. I hope people pick it up. I've got a vinyl copy here. They sent it to me, and I'm what I
Good, good,
hope
good.
I could do is run into you, each of you, obviously not Tommy, but whenever it happened. I mean, I've interviewed Chuck, I don't know, 3 or 4 times, and Randall once, and don't think I talked to any of the other guys on the album, but it'd be great to be able to see you guys and get you all to sign it. And then you can't see it here because of the virtual backdrop, but my wall's covered with, or the whole room has got signed albums that I've got hanging up all over the place. It's just
Okay.
for my enjoyment. I don't sell them. Whoever inherits them or cleans out my office after I'm gone will be the ones that get them. So I'm not selling them, but so it'd be
I'm
an
happy.
honor to be able to meet you guys and whenever it's convenient and get your signatures on there. Just
Can I ask you which, do you have a particular song off of Seven Levels that you
yeah, let me
immediately
pull it up here.
glom
I
on?
There was one I I thought I got the sun in my heart was
Uh-huh.
very,
Yeah.
very different, very unique. And then the way this thing got uploaded into my player is different. And then I want to do it all again. Those two were the two that really grabbed my attention, and you got the repeat button hit
Hmm.
a time or
Cool,
two.
cool, cool, cool. Great. Yeah, those are my two favorites. It's the truth. And I love that line, I've got the sun in my heart. And he did.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think those are the kind of songs that people, when they get, if it, I've heard labels such as Anurhythm or what was the other one I can't remember, but anyway, when the song just keeps, I call it a song looping on the jukebox in my mind. When I think of like a song like that, you got the sun in me. That if that can get into people's DNA and hit them at the right place at the right time, you know,
You bet.
who wouldn't want to live life that way, you know?
Hmm.
And I shared the story at my dad's memorial that he was a very quiet man, and not to make this interview about me or my the recent loss of my dad, but I saw a different side of him because he had dementia the last 2 years, and uh, he danced, which my dad never danced in his life, and he heard Rocky Top being played, and he danced through the house and up and down the stairs, and it's like whoa, and how cool it was to see him have that childlike bliss, just to let go. And I mean, what is it about this world that keeps that suppressed in us? And so to have the sun in your heart, man, what a great line for people to hold on to and let that rub off on them, especially if they're going through a dark time, like Tommy was.
Hey, your father apparently had the sun in his heart when he
Yep,
heard that.
yep.
You're 2 weeks out from that.
It'll be 2 weeks this Sunday when he passed.
Hardest day of my life. Hardest day of my life. When that mine went in 83. But dang, it's a thing, man. How old was your father?
89. He turned 89 in June.
Oh, okay.
I,
June what?
I huh?
June what? What day?
June 7th.
Really, I'm June 8th.
Really, Dean Martin was June 7th as well, but 1917, I think, instead of 1936. And
Oh,
I
okay.
actually got Dina Martin to wish my dad a happy birthday on audio, and I played it for him
Wow.
soon after that. He got the biggest kick out of
That's great. Yeah, I bet. I bet.
that. But, well,
All right.
Rick,
Well,
this
I
was a
wish
lot of
you,
fun, man. Pardon
I
me?
appreciate it. I appreciate I just said I wish you well in your grief stage going through. I know you and your sib have to get through this, and so
We
I
will,
know
but
how.
it's a journey like everybody else has to go through, and there'll be mostly good times, but there'll be the hard times. You've went through it, so you know what I'm talking about there. So, but man, if you're ever up in the Smokies, give me a heads up. We'll get together for, you know, iced tea or something. Yeah.
Absolutely. There's a place up there I used to go to get breakfast in one of those little towns up there, you know. Anyway, but yeah, heck yeah. I got your digits now. You're in trouble. All right.
Well, and my email address is very simple. It's randy@boomerocity.com. And this will get posted probably maybe next Wednesday, if not next Wednesday, the following Wednesday. But
Okay.
I'll put it out there, get it edited, and we'll have it out there, and I'll put a link to where people can buy the album and such. And man, like I said, if you any of your other projects coming up, whether they're your own solo stuff or the bands you mentioned, let me know. Hit me up on it, and we'll get something set up. I love turning people on to music that maybe is a nice little secret, and catch them while
Mm,
they're just ascending and that kind of thing. I love turning people on to new stuff. So keep me in mind, and we'll make some things happen.
thank you so much.
All
I'll
right,
take
Rick.
advantage.
Please do. That's what I'm here for. So be safe, stay healthy, and we'll be talking.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye. This has been another fun-filled episode of Boomerocity with your host and producer, Randy Patterson. The theme song is Roll the Dice and is recorded and used by permission from Quentin Hope. Quentin is spelled Quinten, and Hope is Hope. And you can find out more about Quentin at quentinhope.com. Post-production is done by Cardinal Sins Productions. The Boomerocity name, logo, and content is copyright protected. Segments may only be used with written permission by Boomerocity and/or its assignees. Inquiries should be directed to input@boomerocity.com. Copyright 2025.